Welcome to Let the Quran Speak, and thank you for joining us for our Muslim Heroes of the Past series. Dr. Shabir, we are now looking at Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad, very beloved to him, and of course, he was very beloved to her as well. They had a beautiful relationship with each other.
And they are beloved to all Muslims.
Of course. So, Dr. Shabir, tell us a little bit about Fatima.
Yeah, Fatima was a daughter of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as you said. She was the daughter also of Khadija bint Khuwaylid, the first wife of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who was the only mother of the Prophet's surviving children, Fatima being one of them, meaning that other wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him, did not give birth to any child that lived for any length of time. The only exception to this is Maria, the Coptic woman who gave birth to Ibrahim, but he also died in his infancy. So Fatima was one of four sisters born to Khadija bint Khuwaylid. This was the woman that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had married prior to his becoming a prophet. And it is said that Fatima was born about 5 years before the Prophet, peace be upon him, received the divine message. Interestingly, that is the view from the Sunni sources. Some Shia sources place her birth about 5 years after the mission had already started, which means that she would have been 10 years younger. In any case, Fatima must have been very distraught when, her other siblings died. Some boys were born to her mother as well, but those boys did not survive. They died in their infancy. Fatima would have been, according to Sunni sources, about maybe 15 years old when her mother passed away. Mm-hmm. And so that must have been a very difficult moment for her life as well. Often that year is described as the year of sadness, but we often mean by that the sadness that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, endured. Little is the story told from the point of view of young Fatima. But it's interesting for us to think about that now. What was the impact on this person's life?
We know that she was very distressed in the early days when the non-Muslims were kind of attacking the Prophet Muhammad. I remember there was this very touching story when she was crying and she was taking the dirt off her father's back, right? Because someone had thrown dirt on him.
Yes.
So she was a supporter, and probably it affected her a lot to see him like that, right?
Yes. And within a few years of her mother's death, the Prophet, peace be upon him, migrated to Medina. And soon after the migration, possibly after the Battle of Badr, in the year 623, the Prophet, peace be upon him, married her off to Ali. Now, Ali wasn't a stranger to her. Ali was the cousin of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so she was getting married to somebody she knew and probably respected and perhaps even had an attraction for. They lived a happy life together, though their circumstances were, quite impoverished. And we have narratives that bear out the meager means by which they survived.
Mm-hmm. There's a popular story in which she went to the Prophet Muhammad and asked him for help, right? Maybe thinking that he might give her a servant or somebody to help her. And he offered her some supplications to stay instead.
Yes, and just to make it clear why she was driven to make that request, she was performing a lot of domestic, labors, domestic chores, and so on. Of course, both she and her husband Ali, and she thought that she could use some domestic help. But the Prophet, peace be upon him, had his eyes on the entire community, among whom there were poor persons as well. And rather than give preference to his own family, the Prophet, peace be upon him, preferred to give off the servants to the other persons within the community. But on the other hand, he advised Fatima to recite some praises of God at night, and that this will alleviate her tiredness. And she reported that, she didn't feel tired after she started to practice these recitations. And to this day, Muslims practice the same recitations. Soon after the formal prayer is done, Muslims would recite Glory be to God 33 times, praise be to God 33 times, and God is the greatest 33 times, and then follow that up with the declaration of faith, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God, wahdahu la sharika lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu, and so on, praising God and declaring His oneness and His sole control over all affairs. So Fatima is alive and well in our memories.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Shabir, can you talk a little bit about how there's a differentiation between the Sunni and Shia traditions when it comes to Fatima?
Yes, I've already hinted at one very minor point. It's a matter of the chronology of when she was born, which is interesting in its own right, because if we follow the Sunni trajectory, then Fatima would have been about 20 years old when she got married. If we follow the Shia trajectory, she could have been as young as 10 years when she got married. Yeah. And this highlights another discussion we've had about Aisha, may God be pleased with her, and the apparent discrepancy in mentioning her young age, how old exactly when she got married. So we can see that it's not only pertaining to Aisha, but it is something that seems to be a feature of the time. People do not remember exactly when somebody was born, because all of this is given in retrospect. People look at the persons as they are then, or in their memories, and then they try to retrace back to when that person was born. Nonetheless, the divisions grow deeper than this. In both sources, Sunnis and Shia sources, we find that there's a lot of praise for Fatima. In Sunni sources, for example, we find hadiths in Bukhari and Muslim, the most respected among these sources, saying that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that Fatima is part of me. So whoever pleases her pleases me, and whoever angers her angers me. And so you wouldn't expect that any Sunni would want to have, be on the wrong side of Fatima. And yet on the other side, we find that in the Shia sources, there are reports about how Fatima was mistreated and perhaps even mishandled by some of the prominent Sunni leaders. Well, leaders of the community who later on emerged to be the stalwarts of the Sunni tradition. So there are differences of opinion like this. And all of this, this discussion highlights the need for us to understand each other. For us to go back to our history, look at the sources, and appreciate that some things are a bit hazy, some things were done by people who are long gone. We ask God to forgive whoever did wrong and to reconcile the hearts of all Muslims so that we can move on from here. I mean, we are one Muslim body throughout the world, and we see how beleaguered Muslims are. The way forward is for Muslims to unite, not fight among themselves, and to defend the Muslim frontiers from attacks from all others. And for that to happen, we have to go back to our sources, understand them at the roots, and see where the divisions occurred and try to mend them the best we can. So, but more to our subject, dealing with Fatima. Fatima is very important to both Sunnis and Shias, and she's one of the uniting factors between these two streams. She is the mother of Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, the two grandsons of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who are most prominent. He had other grandchildren as well. But Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, very prominent, very respected.
And we'll be talking about them soon in this very series.
At least about Hassan. Al-Hussein will have a segment regarding him.
Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
We have some exciting news to share with you.
As you know, Let the Quran Speak has been on TV screens and social media for 22 years.
We've been reaching people all around the world, spreading positivity and good, and helping people experience the beauty of Islam and the accomplishments of Muslims.
We've been shooting in this very space for the past 2 decades.
And now, with the help of Allah, we're about to get the keys to Muslim Media Hub.
If you like what we're doing, you're gonna love Muslim Media Hub even more.
Because it's the next step up.
Think new TV shows, podcasts, social media content, and film.
We'll have new talent, more youth, and a lot more space and resources to do what we love. Spread the message of Allah.
Our Muslim Media Hub costs $2.4 million.
And for that, we need to raise $300,000. Please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help establish Muslim Media Hub so we can do this.
It's a Sadaqah Jariyah, something that will continue to be of benefit to the Muslim community long after we are gone.
Thank you, and may Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always.
Assalamu alaikum.